Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? We are here on True Talks, and we are live. We are live. Yeah, there's Willie Moore Jr.
Hey, everybody.
There's Bree Renee.
Yes,
and there's
sir.
Dr. Viral.
Yeah.
And thank y'all so much for joining my Instagram Live. I love all of you for checking out my new show, True Talks. And we're back today with another hot show, and you don't want to miss it. So tune in right now. What I need you to do is head on over to Fox Soul, and you can also find us on YouTube, 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday. The dust is settled from the election. And we're talking, Democrats. We're talking the blame game, why she didn't come out, what happened. And then we got a special guest tonight. Pastor Jamal Bryant is going to be here to break down Project 2025 and what it means for our community. So get your truths ready, because we get ready to go on air. Are you ready? Let's count it down together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. And what's up? How you doing? I'm Ryan Cameron, radio host and two-time Emmy Award winner, and we are back on Truth Talks. And you know what? It's time right now for another great episode of Truth Talks. So I got my superstars with me. I'm going to talk about my co-host, Bree Renee, and she'll introduce herself and tell us all about what's going on today.
Okay, hey y'all, you already know. If you don't know, I'm Bree Renee, straight from the A. And y'all know I've been in my acting bag lately. You might have seen me on BMF, Swarm, The Miss Pat Show, and so many more. But now I'm in my talk show host bag right here on Truth Talks with my fellow co-hosts and my Truth Avengers. So, of course, we're going to keep it all the way real and talk that truth, right?
Hello.
And this show is all about the truth and telling y'all how we really feel at all times. Now, let me introduce the rest of my co-hosts, some heavy hitters in the industry. First off, Dr. Viral, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
Hey. What's up, y'all? What's up, Doc Squad? Dr. Bryant, a.k.a. Dr. Viral. From all of my viral videos with Cam Newton, Nick Cannon, and now The Breakfast Club. And you probably see me on Team On Family Reunion. And I'm president of NAACP back in Los Angeles. So with that being said, I am here telling the truth, bringing the truth with my True Talks family, and I couldn't be happier. So y'all don't forget to leave comments in the comment area on Fox Soul and on YouTube, and we love y'all.
Yeah.
And of course, last but not least, Willie Moore Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
Come on. Let's just get this out the way. Just in case you didn't know, Willie Moore Jr. is on your radio, and Not a Boy Got a TV show.
Okay.
Come on, somebody. Shout out to all my people and my Flat Out family that we get an opportunity to touch over 1.7 million people every single day. I'm just excited about that. And of course, the Love You More podcast is growing every single day. So shout out to all the people who've suffered through hurts, hang-ups, and breakups and their journey to getting whole again. So I just appreciate everybody for watching. And here's the thing. Now we are on Truth Talk. And I guarantee you this, right hand to God, we gonna keep it 100, flat out. Now, before I move on, I wanna make sure that I introduce you to Brelisha the Bell.
Come on now.
Now, Brelisha the Bell is a very, very unique part of this show. She's like the 5th member. So you may hear her if somebody says a good point, right? Or you might hear her if we just get a little too turned up. To my other Caucasian compadres who watch this show, turn up simply means if we get into it. Got it? Good. Thank you. Flat out.
See, there you go. So turn up is not a vegetable. Okay?
No.
Not a turnip. I like collard.
It's almost the end of the week, and the stories are coming in hot. So let's kick it off with trending topics, all right?
Look, y'all, looks like Rihanna has retired on the brain. The singer and businesswoman recently celebrated her Fenty Beauty grand opening in, her home country of Barbados.
Now, the rock star, phenomenon, and cool mom of 2 boys, RZA and Riot Rose, gave a speech at her event about her career and life right now. She said, "I always say music was the thing that got the attention, but God had other plans for me. I was able to create in other ways that were very sincere, genuine, organic, and authentic to the things that I love, so it doesn't even feel like a job."
Now, prophetess Rihanna has promised to release new music in the future, and fans of the star took her message as a sign that a retirement from the recording industry could be coming sooner than later. Quick question, guys. Do you think Rihanna will release another album in the future, or are we just never gonna get it?
Hang it up, okay?
Hang
Let that
it up.
woman make her money how she want to make her money. And like she said, like sometimes, like she said, God will open one door for you to create and multiply in other ways. So I feel like as a creative, you're supposed to be able to do what feels natural, what feels good, and not forced.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're trying to force her to get in. And y'all know the money in the music industry probably ain't half as good as that 50 beauty check.
Yeah.
How they coming? So
Well, after that lackluster performance at the Super Bowl.
don't do that. Not too much on my girl.
Okay,
Not too much
say
on my
what
girl.
you want. I didn't. Yep. Well, Dr. Bryant.
She was just out of having
Listen,
babies.
I just think that Ree is being a mama, being a wife, and making her money. And I'm self-projecting because when I become a wife and a mama, y'all may see me on here sometimes, but you're gonna see a lot less of me.
Okay.
Because especially if my bag is where her bag is.
Yeah.
It's not like she has to be out there taking the time away from her family to go get the money. I think she needs to take this time to be a mama and be thick and be fluffy because she done got thick and fluffy.
Them heels be hurting a little bit different when you got
There's
that weight on.
absolutely no need for Rihanna to come back and release any more music.
No.
You know, I mean, I remember going on a cruise one time, and we went into like one of the duty-free shops, and she had the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 fragrances. And this is way before Fenty. This is way before anything. She was already doing it. I mean, the blueprint that Jay-Z put down for all the things that she's been able to do, and with all the critics, somebody's going to have something to say about whatever album she puts out, whatever music she puts out. So now being the mom of 2, you know, I believe, I'm going to go out on a limb, that she's going to get married before you get another record.
And I agree to that.
Yeah.
She's not married?
No.
Well, I agree.
Well, not to our knowledge. Not to our
Not to our
knowledge.
knowledge.
I thought she was
Yeah.
married.
I thought she
Really?
was married.
I
Not
thought
to
they got
our
married.
knowledge. You know, sometimes celebrities get
I thought
secretly
they got
married without
married.
everybody
Yeah.
being in their business. And I think that might be, that's more Rihanna's style anyway,
Yeah.
to go do it behind
Yeah.
closed doors.
Well, I'll tell you this
and
much.
It's giving marriage
And I
vibes.
think that
It's
this
very
is-
marriage vibes.
You know how
I
I
love
normally am for social media and everything, but this is one of them times where I feel like, unfortunately, social media has given the fans too much power. Because back in the day, we weren't allowed to tell Whitney, you need to make another album. You need to come. Like,
Right.
artists had the creative freedom to go away and experience life and then come back with new music and material once they had acquired that experience. So let this woman live, whether we get it or not.
I mean, the old school saying is like the Sidney Poitiers and the Denzel Washingtons always said, you always disappear until you got something going on.
Yeah.
Because you want to give people time to miss you. And one thing about Rihanna, whenever she shows up, everybody always goes crazy because you really never see her unless it's really about a significant event. She's not always out and about.
Shit.
Facts. No, that's real.
So Trick Daddy got some nerve. The rapper went on IG Live, and again, you know, one thing about platform, they have no requirements for your mental capacity. You can just, all you gotta do is sign up, put your email, and you're alive, all right? He's explaining why he prefers to be labeled simply as American. He argued that since no one in his family has ever been to Africa, the term African shouldn't be part of his identity. He also said, I'm trying to figure out how Afro get in front of my MFing race. I ain't never been to Africa. I ain't never been to Africa, Afro or Africa. Never been there, he declared.
Listen, y'all, let's be very clear. African American refers to individuals in the United States who have origins in any of the black races of Africa without implying, right, that they were born on the continent. By this definition, Trick Daddy, you would still be classified, Negro, as an African American, despite your preference.
Yeah, this viewpoint is one of many of controversial takes that Trick Daddy has voiced over the years. He previously sparked controversy in 2016 with a rant where he disparaged black women, suggesting they were inferior to white and Latino women. Now, do y'all feel like Trick Daddy has any justification to either of these claims that he's made?
Well, first of all, as a woman who is black and Hispanic.
I knew it was about
Okay.
to be on.
No.
Hold
Go
on,
ahead, sit
hold
up
on,
a
no,
little bit
I'm
and
saying
get
as a woman who's black and Hispanic, Latina, I don't think black women are inferior to any other woman, first of all. I'm not, we ain't, I don't think that. Second of all, I think society may want to put out a distorted narrative that makes it appear like that. But if I can say that most women outside the black race are doing a lot of beauty cosmetic surgeries to appear like us, from
like
lips
us.
to bodies to everything else. And so if anyone was to feel like they're inferior or want to have a likability like us, it would be them with us, definitely.
We definitely create the trends, like you said, but I kind of agree with Trick Daddy on the African-American thing. And I know, y'all, I'm always pro-black, but I'm from Atlanta. My mama from Atlanta. My grandma from Atlanta. I ain't never been nowhere else. I really don't have any ties to the continent of Africa.
It's just your descent. If you have African descent in your lineage, then you're African
But
American.
by definition, we are Afro-American.
Yeah, African American.
Well, Trick Daddy is black, colored, and a Negro. So I want to say this to you and use one of your own songs. Okay. What's up?
Shut up.
And listen, congratulations to Krishan Rock. She recently shared a video on social media about her baptism with a heartfelt caption, thanking her Christian family. She wrote, "Thank you for cleansing my heart and welcoming me into your family. As I rise from these waters, may I walk in the light of your spirit and grow in the love of Christ each day. Guide my steps, uphold me in faith, and help me to live out your truth in all that I do. Amen."
Amen. The rapper and reality TV star has had a tumultuous year, child, and life. Now, a lot of people are on social media going back and forth saying, do y'all think Krishan can really clean up her image for good, or do y'all think that she will quickly go back to her bad habits?
I think at the end of the day, life is life, and this is a natural progression. Every single day we're doing our best to get better and better. I'm not saying that she's not going to be the person that goes back to some of her habits. We all have a default setting.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Bryan, she talked about it on Breakfast Club, is that nobody never really changes, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just you learn how to handle the opportunities that are at hand. And here's the thing. Jesus can clean your spirit, but you still got things on the inside of you that you still have to fight with every single day. The Bible says, fight the good fight of faith. It didn't say spar, it said fight. So every day is a fight. I'm excited about her, and I think it's very, very insensitive to start talking about what she's gonna do, good or bad, when she made such a definite decision.
Yeah.
Decision means this. Decision means to cut out. Incision means to cut in. She made a decision. She cut out everything, and she's gonna work through it. I believe in her. Yeah.
And she cut out Blueface, and so now the birds of a feather are not flocking together
That's the
anymore.
best thing
That's
she
the best
ever
thing she
did.
could have did. All right.
Yeah.
When we come back, are Democrats getting ready to throw Kamala under the bus? Don't go away. We got more True Talks when we come back. And welcome back to True Talks, where we've been keeping the political conversations candid since Donald Trump's landslide victory last week. Even though we love discussing celebrities and pop culture, we stay up to date on what's really going on in our community and, of course, amplify the black voices.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the finger pointing has already started in the Democratic Party after getting crushed by Donald Trump. Should we say crushed? Crushed?
Boat raced.
It
Okay,
felt like
good.
being crushed.
Yeah, last week was difficult. Now, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi blamed Joe Biden's late exit and the lack of an open primary for the devastating loss. I'm a little confused by her statement. I don't remember Pelosi backing President Obama when he called for a primary after Biden stepped aside. Do you guys remember that at all?
No.
No, I had never heard
She
her.
OG, Bree. She like a Maxine Waters at that next level. She OG.
Oh, okay.
For sure, for sure. She's like, she's the chick who she went in on Big Trump, Big D, like checked his ass. And millennials need to know that. And just like Maxine Waters says, I'm reclaiming my time.
Yeah.
I'm reclaiming my time. Nancy Pelosi checked him. She is really a black woman fighting for black rights, and she just look white. I'm telling you, Nancy goes hard for us.
Yeah, speaking of going hard, her criticism was directed at Biden, but I can't help but think this may also have been a swipe at Harris. Do y'all feel like she was kind of taking a jab at her, or what did she really mean when she said if the president had gone out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race? Was she suggesting that Harris not be her first choice, or is she saying a transparent process would have benefited Kamala in some way?
I think what she's saying is that if Biden would have dropped out earlier, that folks would have had another Dem that we probably all would have been more open to voting for. I think she understood that whether Kamala came in way early at the beginning from the generals or not, I just felt like she would have not won this race. I think that she just wasn't the right woman for this race in general. Now, maybe in 4 years or whatever, but I think Nancy Pelosi is also saying the same thing. Had we had other people in there, the Dems might have selected a different candidate to run, and it would have been possible for us to get the House, the seats, and the presidential election.
Do you think it was supposed to be her, or she's saying it was?
No, she
I
don't want
think
that. Nancy's an old.
I
she's
mean,
like
what
90
she's
years
saying
old.
is also the fact that Biden told us
Yeah.
that he was going to do one term and then he was going to do a equal transition. He was supposed to step aside, and then he got to the midterms and decided he was going to stay. Now, we all watched live his cognitive abilities just go haywire.
Disintegrate.
We saw it with the debate and everything else. And she's saying if they would have went to the convention,
Come on.
you know, he just said, I anoint, Kamala Harris. He didn't give anybody a chance to debate or talk about it at all. And I think, it was very difficult for people to think that she was going to try to win a campaign in 107 days.
But which is interesting you said that, because the fact that the Dems gave no one any chance to discuss or select or nominate, that's dictatorship to me. But I digress.
There's already talk about what's next for Harris, whether she will run for office again or go hide in the woods and eventually reemerge to write a book like Hillary Clinton, do speeches, get that bag, Do you see the Democrats throwing her under the bus as time goes on? Or will the party learn from its mistakes and perhaps another Harris run is going to happen in 2028? What do y'all think is going to happen?
Listen, Dr. Bryant's running in 2028, so Kamala better be ready for that one. Two, because my policies will be on point, my legislation will be on point, and I'm coming in as president of NAACP, and I'm running black. I'm already running black with being the president of NAACP, the biggest civil rights organization in the world. But I'm gonna have to come off of that presidency to take this presidency.
Come on now.
So.
I like how you talking too.
I think they already threw her under the bus. I think they already washed their hands with it. I don't think that we're going to see her run again. I do think that she's going to go out as a celebrity, do a book tour, speaking engagement, stuff like that.
I think she's been an amazing example of what African American and brown women can do all across the world.
Absolutely.
I'll be very honest with you. This Saturday, my 6-year-old, her godmother brought her a book with Kamala Harris, and a few other, Michelle Obama and Beyonce. So it's some little small,
Come on, three queens.
Three queens to just show it. And I think she did a really good job as example. I think she should show what it looks like to suffer through defeat and then still go on to be something really, really good. I think Dr. Bryant spoke about it a little while, maybe last show or so, but I think she should continue the movement. Like, the one thing about Donald Trump and the Republicans and the MAGA campaign, they didn't stop when they lost. They kept that thing going every single time. They mobilized, they planned and did what they're supposed to do. And I think she doesn't necessarily have to become the president, but I think she can lead the charge, making sure that all people get an opportunity to democracy.
And still fighting for some of those things that she believes in the community. I agree.
Well, the main thing that she didn't have going for her that Donald Trump had was polling groups, focus groups, an agenda to discuss policy. All she had to do was just keep throwing stuff and hoping that anything would stick. And unfortunately, none of it did, because people are still talking about the economy, the same thing they were talking about after COVID with President Biden. So again, who knows what may happen, but we got more great show for you when we come back. Up next, we break down Project 2025 with our special guest, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Keep it here, because you don't want to miss it. Come right back. Come right back. And welcome back to True Talks. Most of us are still reeling from Donald Trump's decisive victory over Kamala Harris Tuesday night, but we also need to educate ourselves and organize for what's to come. For new viewers, we're not a political show, but we are in the times where there's very few voices speaking to the diverse Black experience. So we're gonna, break down a few stories down right here that have been recently trending due to the political culture for our truth tellers and get you in the know, all right?
Now, of course, you all heard about Project 2025, right? A nearly 1,000-page blueprint for a hard right turn in U.S. government society. It's led by the Heritage Foundation and written by many conservatives who worked in or with the first Trump administration. But the Trump has tried to distance himself from the controversial plan, and the surrogates keep saying things like, Donald didn't write it. Take a look at this.
As you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy.
Listen, we're tired of hearing that. President Trump. He always conveniently claimed he has no relation to these hot topics. But we need to be informed and believe the facts.
So most of what we've heard about Project 2025 has been abstract and focused on undermining democracy. But there will be some direct effects on people, and we're all terrified by what it means for us as Black people. So joining us is Dr. Jamal Bryant, senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, who launched a voter mobilization effort called Project 555 in response to Project 2025. And we're honored to have you here, Dr. Bryant.
Man, I'm glad to be with all of you.
All right, first and foremost, What was your reaction to Trump's decisive victory?
I was in shock that all 5 swing states went to Donald Trump, that he got more popular votes than the last 2 elections was dizzying. I was all the more blown away by how many Latinos supported Donald Trump after he classified them as murderers, criminals, and rapists, and completely disparaged Puerto Rico. So I'm still in shock.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of controversy about, whether or not Kamala would have won had she had more time, right? Had Biden dropped out earlier and had Kamala come in and run, do you think that was a deciding factor on her winning this race, or you think it wouldn't have made a difference?
I think 2 things. The biggest obstacle, Dr. Bryant, America has to face after racism is sexism. And misogyny is really a thing in America amongst all ethnicities, Black, white, and Latino. And so I think that we've got to confront that and deal with it head on. Secondly, we cannot undermine that we're not in a post-racial society.
Come on now.
People are really exposing who they really are. The Klan no longer has to wear robes, they now wear suits. And so we're seeing hate crimes are going up in substantial numbers. DEI is being dismantled all over the country.
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action is on the chopping block. And so we're going to have to really be vigilant about what America is supposed to look like.
That's good.
Pastor Brian, there's been a lot of conversations about Project 2012, but no one really understands the entirety and the details of it, especially when it comes to the danger of how it affects us as Black people. There are lots of info about the agency that's being abolished and that funding getting eliminated, but I need these main points like put out there in plain English, because I feel like sometimes they make it confusing so we don't understand.
Yeah, Frederick Douglass said anybody who's informed can't be enslaved. And so it is by intention to keep knowledge away from our community. It's a 900-page document, Bree, and the average Black person post-high school has not read one book that was nonfiction.
Wow.
And so you've got to really do some unpacking. What is at stake for us is first and foremost education. They're talking about dismantling, Willie, the Head Start program, which would leave 800,000 young people without early education. ABCs, 1, 2, 3, red, blue, and green. All of that is dismantled. They're talking about releasing 150,000 early educators. This is impactful, taking away education and funding from public schools, which most of us went to, and redirecting it to private schools. Ryan, what it is that they're saying in the document, if you go to public schools, when you turn 18, you are automatically enlisted in the military.
Wow.
But if you go to private school, you can opt out of it.
And how many of us can afford that?
Listen,
money thing. It's a money thing.
And they're talking about defunding if any school teaches Black history, saying that it's giving a jaded perspective. And so it's important that we do some critical things. A lot, Dr. Brian, of our students are behind still from COVID because we left homeschooling to parents who didn't even go to PTA.
Come on now.
And so we got to do some real recalibrating on how it is that we get involved and how we get engaged.
Yeah. And a lot of those students, like you said, those parents, some of them struggle with graduating school themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Pastor Brown, I do want to ask you this. How do you feel about him saying he's not going to allow kids to go in and have sex change at early ages? I know there's a lot of things we don't agree with him on, but what about that part?
I think it is a weapon of mass distraction. Transgenders in this country, China, are 2%.
Yeah.
So to make that one of your first legislative policies and say nothing about gun control, nothing about poverty, say nothing about the cancellation of student debt. And so while I understand what is the ethical issue, the moral issue, or really the spiritual issue, there's some other issues that we got to tackle before we get to that.
That affect more people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Dr. Brian, Project 2025 also has radical proposals when it comes to the criminal justice system, right? What are the plans to expand the death penalty and roll back efforts to address police misconduct? I'm hearing a whole lot about stop and frisk.
I got to stop you right there because you mid-sentence, and I want you to see the hypocrisy, is that they're calling for an expansion of the death penalty while white evangelicals won this election anti-abortion. So if you're pro-life, how are you also for the death penalty? There is a great
Break that down for us,
hypocrisy.
Dr. Brian.
Yeah, so the whole notion, the campaign was won on two issues. It was about abortion, and it was about same-sex marriages. And so evangelical churches across the country galvanized that Trump was on Christian values.
That's what they said.
On those two issues. And then turn around and say, oh no, let's expand the death penalty. So while Donald Trump says, I don't know anything about Project 2025 and that's suspect, we do have footage of him saying that he wants to give police immunity. You come out of St. Louis, where Ferguson was a turning point with the Michael Brown case of what it means to really leave police unchecked. And to take that away, and then Cheyenne's from LA, if you reinstitute stop and frisk that says, I don't even need probable cause, but because you're black, you are a suspect. We're going to do the electric slide back to the 50s.
And I want to talk about the hypocrisy, like you just mentioned, with the death penalty, because if he actually ran on biblical values, aren't we all allowed the right to change our lives and ask for forgiveness?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And live a different life. So it was like, how are you really, what side of the Bible, or how can you pick and choose how biblical you want to be?
Yeah, well, that is the evidence. I am a runway model for grace. So
Me too.
I'm standing on grace.
I think we all are.
Yes,
at some
but
point
you're
in
dealing
our
with,
life.
yeah, but when you deal with a candidate who they quoted again as the Messiah or God's representative, who we have never had evidence of repentance. And so after it is that you have defamed, dishonored women, said that you can grab them by their private parts and that you have a right to do that. When it is that you have 34 issues of criminality that are at stake.
Felony charges.
Or felony charges. We're here in Atlanta. Let's not forget that they went after Fannie Willis, went after Letitia in New York. There's no regard for women, and we say that this is the Christian standard, and yet those same proponents will call Kamala Harris a witch and a demon because she was for pro-choice.
I got to ask you this, Dr. Brian.
Yes.
How does that make you feel as a pastor? Because when we hang under the banner, when we stand under the banner of Jesus, that pretty much represents all of us.
Yes.
You know, back when the Twin Towers were struck down, Muslim people were all lumped together, and a lot of people weren't with that type of mass destruction.
Yes.
How does that make you feel as a pastor to know that people who reign under the banner of Jesus feel like this is the Messiah that God chose?
Well, the reality is, Willie, America has always had two Jesuses.
Oh, wait, what Jesus is?
We had a Jesus in slavery that said slavery was okay. Slave, obey your master. You had the same Jesus that during segregation, where they went to Bible study and then went and pulled out fire hoses. Bull Connor in Alabama was a Sunday school teacher. So he left out of teaching Sunday school on a Sunday and then lit up people like John Lewis on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The most segregated hour in America is still Sunday at 11 o'clock. And so I think that the body of Christ has got to come together and have a, here it is, come to Jesus meeting.
Right.
And say, come on, Eminem, we're the real Jesus, please stand up. So I think that the healing that has to happen has got to be the church at large. To say we can't, the body of Christ is more divisive than Democrats and Republicans. And I want the church to come together if this is one nation under God. This is the largest, Ryan, the largest demographic of black people in our history who don't go to church. I am ashamed to say, Willie, on this stage, that 20% of black people claim to be atheists. And so we got to do something altogether different on the repackaging and the repurposing of what church looks like.
So, Pastor Brian, we know, talking about 2025 and the whole thing, with 900 pages, what is it that you have sought or seen in that disturbs you more than most of the stuff that's in there? Is there something that you like, strictly some things that really stick out to you?
Yeah, it's the war on universal health care.
Absolutely.
Raising the retirement. Black men, the three of us, have the shortest life expectancy in this country. And yet they want to raise the retirement age for us to get Social Security, for us to get Medicare, where they are betting on the three of us not being alive. These two beautiful women beside me could very well end up as widows. Black women live longer, but will do so without mates and without spousal support. And so we've got to figure out, if you're taking away health care and raising the retirement age, what does it happen for us as black men when the average black man over 60 only sees the doctor at the emergency room? They are not going for their annual physical. And so we've got to do a real makeover about the health of our community and our people.
When they talk about, the preservation of the white race and what this mass deportation means, if he is able to get, some estimates are 11 million, some as high as 30 million, if you go in and you do all these things and get all these people out of the country, is that something that you see them trying to do? Because they're talking about, $1 billion almost a day in trying to establish something like this. And he's saying this is going to happen on day one.
Yes. So the whole preservation of the race, we got to take the roses off. Los Angeles, St. Louis, Atlanta, right? All of us know black girls keep their baby. It's white girls that's going to the abortion clinic. So black girl going to go live with her grandmother.
Black
She
and
go,
brown.
yes,
Black and
black and
brown keep their
brown.
babies.
Absolutely.
Or the grandmama gonna raise
so
the
the
baby.
whole pro-life is about the preservation of the white population. And we've got to really go beyond the exterior and see what really is at stake and what's really on the line. And so if in fact they want to preserve their race, then black and brown people got to preserve their race by saying, make sure you got health care.
Indeed. Pastor Jamal, I got to ask you this. Project 2025, of course, we've been talking about health care. It also poses dangers to our health as a people who face significant health disparities. What would Project 2025 do to Medicare and Medicaid? My parents are older, so what does that mean for the average black man who only goes to the doctor when they got to go to the emergency room, as you so eloquently alluded to?
Is that you got to realize that they want to go back to the privatization of insurance, which makes those big companies more wealthy and the impoverished die earlier. The glaring understanding is that all of our community was adversely impacted by COVID, drum roll, because of pre-existing conditions. So COVID made those things flare up and accelerate because we weren't really checked, and so we were disqualified from it. You remember all of the lines all of us saw from those who had to get the shot. Just to go to work. White people was like, oh, okay, we'll see when you get back. And they made it as an option. But for us, we had a whole lot of more sweeping to do. Health is our new wealth. And so if you got a Birkin bag and red bottoms, but you got type 2, then it don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? And so I think that health has got to be a part of the ministry of what we do. A lot of us, Willie, you've been talking all night about the virtues of Christ. What nobody talks about is Jesus walked on average 3 to 5 miles a day.
Wow.
He had a pescatarian diet. We don't find him eating anything outside of fish.
They don't preach that.
But I think that we've got to make that as a part.
And New Birth, they do.
Well, we're trying to. The most unhealthy believers on the planet are black Christians.
Well, I'm more like Jesus. I run about 4 miles.
Willie does too. He done got me on the fast track.
He ran from downtown. He parked the car and ran downtown.
Listen.
Look, Pastor Bryant, we want to show this clip of what happened today because we've been hearing about, what's going to happen with the Department of Education.
Yes.
And this is a clip from, President-elect Donald Trump. And get your thoughts on that. So check this out.
All right.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states.
What do you think about this?
Okay, so let's look at Mississippi, for example.
Right.
That just passed that the 10 Commandments would be in every classroom. And so they're using a biblical model that if we bring Christian ethics back, but Mississippi is 50th in the nation in reading.
Whoa.
50th in the nation in math. Let's not forget that in Florida, where the president-elect now claims his residency, they're banning black books, books about Rosa Parks, books about John Lewis, books against segregated water fountains. They're saying it is illegal and it is uncomfortable for people to learn the truth about this nation. We send it back to the states. We're already struggling. So I think it'll be worse. All of us are almost in the same demographic. We grew up at a time where, here it is, it used to be art class. It used to be a music class.
Right.
All of those have already been taken out of our classrooms.
What do we excel at? Arts,
listen,
music.
There it is.
So, Dr. Bryant, when you talk about all these things,
Yes.
you know, in a worst case scenario,
Yes.
why wouldn't Donald Trump try to get rid of the Dr. King holiday? And if that happens, why not get rid of the Dr. King monument? If you're saying no critical race theory, no black history, then you might as well go ahead and say that Dr. King didn't do any of the things that he did. Is that like the worst case scenario of what could possibly happen?
I think that's going to happen. If he dismantles it, there's no way you can keep the holiday because it goes in the face of all the legislation that he's putting in place. And so I think that this is the hour that the real church is going to have to stand up. Those of us who grew up, I'm going to say in the 80s or in the 90s, if you went to Sunday school, they don't have Sunday school no more, but if you had a Sunday school, we were in semicircles like this. You would read John 3:15, I read John 3:16, you read John 3:17. Yes, they did that because most of our Sunday school teachers were educators. And they were able to hear what was our reading level. And so after Sunday school, Miss Johnson would go to Dr. Bryant's mother and say, hey, you're going to have to work with her. She ain't conjugating them verbs. But in the dismantling of that, we've got to do a different understanding that Vacation Bible School can't just be coloring Noah's Ark. But it is really learning what our history is. Malcolm X said, it is a poor person that leaves education in the hands of your oppressor. So if our children are only learning education during Black History Month, but don't know who it is that they are. Jewish students learn their history and their culture all year. And they're not waiting just on the class, but they're learning it at home. And they got to get to the synagogue on Saturday to get all of that information.
And they also have their own schools.
And there's always a pilgrimage. You know, a rite of passage to go back to the motherland. When we come back, we got more with Dr. Jamal Bryant. So True Talks continues. It's going to get deeper. Don't go nowhere. And we are back on True Talks, and we have a special guest with us tonight, Pastor Jamal Bryant from New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. We're talking everything about Trump, everything about, Project 2025, and we all agree that we know the threat is real. Now that we have a Trump presidency, what do we need to do to fight back? Pastor Jamal Bryant will tell us how we can empower our community. What should we do?
I think that, one, we've got to arm ourselves. What we learned from the first presidency of President Trump.
I thought he was about to talk about them guns. I said, arm myself. I got me 3.
No.
We have to say it. We're supposed to. Sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Yes, no. Trump is a master showman. So he thrives in chaos and confusion. And so he's going to throw a whole lot of things out at the same time. And so what the Black community is going to have to do is not be reactionary. What are we asking for? Not waiting to respond to. And so we've got to hear from our organizations like the NAACP. What is our 5 things? Are we looking for the extension of the cancellation of student loan debts? Do we want what Vice President Harris offered in terms of releasing access to capital for entrepreneurship? How do we increase home ownership? How do we enlarge universal health care? So I think that we've got to deal with what is our ask. If we don't do that, then we're just going to be the dog chasing the car.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Pastor Bryant, what can we do to prevent this from reversing the progress we've made as as a people.
Yeah. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so I think that we've got to really clear our throats and not be on the sideline. One of the signs of resignation is the black word, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Nonchalantness.
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
nonchalantness of
And
like,
so,
okay.
so many people are broken and wounded and hurt from the turnout, but you're going to have to shake it off. January 20th is coming. And so I think that we really are going to have to be watchful and clear on what is our objective.
Yeah.
I want to say to all of our sisters, take a breather.
Well, how do we shake it off? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard so many calls and text messages from people who are just distraught, damn near on a bridge.
Yeah.
About the way this election turned out. So
I'm
how
on
do
the
they do
Brooklyn
that?
Bridge with them.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, I
And
think.
how do you get out that victimized mindset? Because
Yeah.
for me, that's frustrating. I can't
Yeah.
stand when our community goes into that victimized mindset when it's
Yeah.
like, no, that's not how you get to a place of victor.
Yeah, it sounds like victimization when it's really burnout. When it is that you just always got to fight. You always
Battle
got to
fatigue,
defend
battle
yourself. You always are on edge. That level of paranoia gets inside of us, and that's why black people have the lowest amount of sleep at night.
Yeah.
So overnight
Higher
advertisements
disease.
for black people is 3 to 5. That's how we found out about the psychic network. Is all of us was up looking at Dion. So when you look at that, well, that's why I'm saying to black women, take a rest. Whatever was your cape as Wonder Women, use that as a blanket and rest for the next 6 weeks. But in January, we need our sisters and our brothers to Wonder Twins activate.
I like that because, like you said, even just living at that heightened state of anxiety
Yeah.
can often cause disease within our body. That
Yes.
some of those pre-existing conditions that you were talking about. And we know as black folks, we all are survivors, right? We've fought and we've overcome so much. But this just got real. And my generation, as millennials and even the Gen Zs, we're tired of like those moral victories and the clapbacks. Like, do we need action to mobilize, or how do we get the action to mobilize and get our young people to fight back and push back? Because we are kind of exhausted, like you said.
No, what you have to realize is Black Lives Matter generation has legitimate reason for waving the white flag. And I've said this to the older generation of baby boomers who get frustrated with the younger generation. Let's be in mind that since Trayvon Martin, this generation has had not one victory.
No.
Not one law passed.
Nope.
All they've gotten is out-of-court settlements. And so I think when you pull that to bear is we got to be a little bit more patient with them and move from protest to policy.
And Pastor Jamal, do you think that this younger generation is participatory to the point where they would have legislation and things passed? MLK was in his 20s, right, doing a lot more advocacy work. I became president in my early 30s.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, what are they doing to even be actively participatory
we protest.
to have certain things passed? I feel like, hey, unpopular opinion, I feel like they're a lazy generation, regardless of
But
how it
Dr. B,
sounds.
to
That's
your
how I look
point,
at it.
we've protested. We've been fighting all these
Yeah, but
things.
that's-
But like we said, we feel like protesting and doing it peacefully isn't working. So how do we actually get change?
Yes, but Dr.
Yeah.
Bryan is a unicorn. What nobody's going to talk about, and I'm going to get backlash on it, is this is the oldest leadership black people have ever had. Aunt Maxine is 81 years old. Louis Farrakhan is 84 years old. Jesse Jackson is 83 years old.
Andy Young is 92.
Reverend Sharpton is 70.
keep going, yeah.
And so it has backed up
Reverend
the
Jackson.
traffic of those who need to come and take the torch. And so what you're going to see in this next cycle of leadership are those who are not going to be deputized by mainline organizations or mainline churches, but are going to emerge from the trenches. Here it is. The University of TikTok is coming.
Yeah.
The College of Instagram is on the way. And so those influencers who did not get baptized and deputized
The 19
by the
keys.
usual, those are coming. You got to realize that people like Killer Mike were not ordained by the Baptist Church, but he is a voice that has to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I found out after the killing of Michael Brown, I went to Ferguson. It was Ryan, my bar mitzvah in the leadership. Because in Ferguson, when Michael Brown was killed, they didn't listen to Reverend Jackson.
No.
They did not listen to Reverend Sharpton. All of that crowd only got quiet, drum roll, when Nellie came. When Nellie showed up, it changed the whole culture of the street. And so the people who are on the street and have street credibility are not going to be able to hide in the studio.
Yeah.
They're going to have to really come out amongst us and help lend that leadership.
We want to thank Pastor Bryant for coming on, but don't go nowhere.
Okay.
We're going to have another segment when we come back. We're going to talk more about, Project 2025, get some final thoughts from you. Yeah. But also, one of the things that you talked about was I like that you said for black women to fold up their cape and use it as a blanket for the next 6 weeks. So when we come back, we're going to have more on True Talks with Pastor Jamal Bryant from New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. So don't go nowhere. We got more. And welcome back, y'all. If you say something that the masses don't agree with, people think you're hating. But after this election, the unpopular opinion may be the popular opinion. So, we're going to talk about this right now. Black people have no real allies. There's been a lot of talk on social media on this topic, but first, I think we need to clear up what, being an ally truly means in support the same as, allyship. If you're not sticking your neck out or you're putting yourself at risk, are you, fake or performative?
I've said it before on our show and y'all jumped on me, but I could fight real good. I have white allies. My vice president of my NAACP is Croatian. He's white, and he's done so much for our organization. Our city councilman, Tim McOsker, he is white, and he not only pretty much authored or motion for the city to give me my own street in the city of Los Angeles, he also gave us our first ever, for Black History Month, the flags through all our whole city when we never had it in the 100-some years our city was there. So there are some white allies. Are there many? I don't know, but speaking for myself, I have allies of all different races. I think that as Black African Americans, with 13.4% of us in this country, if we don't ally with other races, we are in trouble.
Pastor Bryant, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we have allies as individuals, but not as groups.
Yep.
What the election exposed is what was the percentage of white women that voted against Kamala Harris, of Latino women that voted against Kamala Harris, Latino men almost at 90% voted for Trump. And so I think that African Americans have got to, in the words of Shakespeare, to thine own self be true.
Absolutely.
Is that we've got to learn to stick together in order to really make an impact.
Y'all know how I feel. I feel like, no, we don't. All we got is each other. And this minute we start believing that, we can get a lot further faster. I think that allyship truly means to stand up for what's right for me, even if it doesn't benefit you or you aren't getting something out of it. And I think that a lot of times these people will be our allies because it often will benefit them as well. It'll look good on their resume, or it'll look good on their financial report, or it'll look good for who they want to vote for them next. So I think that, no, we don't have allies because nobody gonna fight for us when if it doesn't benefit them in the long run.
I love it. I'll be honest with you. I think sometimes we mistake allyship with friendship. And I think that's the biggest thing. We have to create a common goal that people can rally around. And I think if it's created in such a way that people feel comfortable rallying around it, I think it'll be good.
Now,
So
expound
you're my
on that.
friend,
What
but
do
you're not my ally.
I thought I only had 30 seconds. So I mean,
What would that goal be, Willie? Like, what would that goal be?
What is the goal?
I mean, there's a lot of different disparities in the African American community, of course, as it pertains to education. And we talked about it earlier in the show. Like, when are our allies going to say, hey, African American history cannot be erased because it was built on the back of these people? Like, here's the thing. Also, when it comes to immigration, if it's 21 million people about to be deported, and it's going to cost $80 billion per 1 million person, where do these people go? I go to third world countries 3 times a year, right? And I've noticed that they don't have the technology to accept and receive certain things. Ethiopia can't even get their quote unquote MARTA system going because it's not a lot of electricity. Right. How are they going to receive those people? They're not going to be able to receive those people. They're going to be concentration camps. And his rhetoric has always been, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Yeah. So when you put
when
these...
is the white church going to speak out against?
That's the thing.
If those are our allies,
that was my landing spot.
We've got a challenge that the Christian community at large has got to deal with the dehumanization of immigration.
And that was the thing. I really believe that that there are going to be so many people in those camps. There's not going to be enough food. There's not going to be enough water. These people are going to begin to fight. It's going to be a lot of friction. They're going to put cameras on this thing, and they're going to say, "What did I tell you? Look what these people are doing." And I think, and I say this in all humility, my prayer is that it doesn't become Germany. My prayers it doesn't
We're on
become
our
a
way.
Holocaust.
Yeah.
Because if it's 80 million per 1 million, 20 million people, then we show what the economics are. As we know this country is built on that. We begin to say, hey, what's
And the hypocrisy-
use of having these
I had
people
this
here? What should we
conversation
do?
today in the barbershop,
Yeah.
right? And they was talking about, you think
What
prices...
were you doing in the barbershop?
Barbershop.
Well, yeah, I got you see this French goatee?
Come on, don't play with us.
Don't play with us. Don't play with us.
Come
on.
on.
I mean, we were talking about the fact they said, you think that grocery prices are high right now. Wait until they release all those undocumented immigrants and nobody wants to work and pick those vegetables.
Right.
And nobody wants to work in those poultry plants because those are the people that are doing those jobs.
Yep.
And what is the difference between an allyship and an economic opportunity? And they were arguing in the barbershop. Who's giving us more economic opportunity, the white man or the black man?
But you know what? I also wanted to, speaking of economics, where is that $81 billion coming from? Can't be the same $81 billion that we can't afford to extend into healthcare. That can't be the same $81 billion that we can't, wipe out student debts. So how is it
Well,
we
let
have
me
all
say
this money
this,
to...
the mayor of New
This is how
York.
he responded. Go ahead.
It's like, how is it that we have all this money to do stuff that's inhumane, but we don't have the money to do things that'll help support our country?
Right.
And
It
give
might be
Ukraine
coming
money.
from New York. The Mayor Adams from New York already cut off all the immigrants'
vouchers.
food vouchers
Yeah.
and said, y'all not going to eat on any of our city money. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm condoning that, but it's already put in action because he's already putting in his bid for a pardon.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it is.
I don't know how we celebrate this.
You didn't
I
know that?
believe if
That's-
any
No.
no, I'm just saying like how for the life of me, I can't understand, because we have pastor here, how Christian people can believe that this is okay, right? Because the Bible declares that we are to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Is this a problem that we don't really love ourselves the way we're supposed to?
And to add to that, to your point that you made earlier, I think this is the same reason why so many people have distanced themselves from the faith, because they see the hypocrisy in it.
Before the Holocaust started, Adolf Hitler met with all of the pastors in Germany
Wow.
and said to the pastors, don't speak out against what I am doing, and I won't bother the church. And one Lutheran pastor named Dietrich Bonhoeffer got up and said, silence is a speech. If we don't say anything,
We're
it will
saying
say so
everything.
much.
Saying
And I think that we're seeing, because we always brought that back up again about us turning into Germany, as you're seeing the silence of prophetic voices. And I think that they're going to have to be challenged to not sit it out. This is America, it's not Switzerland. You're going to have to get engaged.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what True Talks is all about, and that's why we're here Monday through Friday, 5 nights a week. Thank you for joining us and
Thank
dropping
you.
the gems as always.
Thanks, Pastor
You kept it
Brian.
real.
you.
Thank you for talking to
Oh,
us.
that's what he
Yeah.
always
Pastor
does.
Brian.
Appreciate it.
True
Thank
talker.
you.
Hey, we
Okay,
made it to
appreciate
another
that.
amazing episode of True Talks. Thank you all for joining us on the fun. Of course, a lie will cost a fee, but the truth will.
Set you free.
We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Yes.